Thank you, Chairman Betts. As you know, I don't serve on this committee, so I appreciate your indulgence in allowing me to waive on to not only testify earlier, but to ask a few questions today and to discuss the importance of reauthorizing the Long Island Sound program. Mr. Pickerel, fellow Long Islander, it's good to see you here today, sir. Thank you so much for your work as the Marine Program Director of the Cornell Cooperative Extension of Suffolk County and for your hard work and dedication to making sure the Long Island Sound is safe and prosperous for so many of us Long Islanders to enjoy. We only have 4 or 5 minutes, so I wanted to ask you about 5 questions in that time. First, a rough estimate, if you wouldn't mind, how many people every day are affected by the Long Island Sound, whether directly or indirectly?
It's got to be tens of thousands if you consider the size of the watershed, up into Connecticut. Long Island, not as many, but yeah, definitely tens of thousands for sure.
Yeah, and through
hundreds of thousands probably if you go into Connecticut. Tens of thousands on the North Shore of Long Island.
And would you describe in which ways are some of those folks affected by the Long Island Sound?
So, recreation, commercial fishing, recreational fishing, aesthetics, boating, swimming, all those things. Yep. Transportation, of course, the ferries. There's also transportation going east and west within the Sound.
Yeah, awesome. Those are some of the very direct ways. How about indirect? How about like the water quality issues, especially if the water quality in the Long Island Sound is tainted? Could that number grow from the hundreds of thousands that you mentioned?
If the water quality was improved?
Right.
Sure. So that could actually impact people's livelihoods, their jobs. Yeah. So whether it's aquaculture or wild harvest of shellfish or finfish, that could increase. Yep. And bring more money to those communities, to their families, to put food on the table, things like that.
When considering those indirect measures, and you're the expert, not me, but my memo suggests that 23 million people are affected by the Long Island Sound when considering all those indirect measures as well. But let me ask you this. We're here to talk about the Long Island Sound Reauthorization Program. What would happen if the program never existed?
We wouldn't see the milestones reached that have been achieved so far. So there have been so many projects of all different natures that have taken place that have helped to restore habitat, fisheries, recreation, education, all these things. And without that, I wouldn't be able to employ some of my staff. We've got a staff of over 80 that are working throughout the region. Yep. Some of those are funded through funding from the EPA, National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, projects on the Sound.
Awesome. So we've made tremendous progress over the decades authorizing funds into that program, folks who have worked and dedicated themselves to ensure quality in the Long Island Sound, and we've made progress over decades doing that. What if we stopped funding that today? What would life look like moving forward for those millions of people affected by the Long Island Sound if all of a sudden Uncle Sam stopped sending the money?
We'd actually go in reverse. So those improvements that have happened would start to wane, and we wouldn't see any advancement in habitat value, habitat amount, all those things I talked about. We need to keep this going so that momentum maintains itself. And the fact that we need to revise the CCMP. That's going to be done in 2025. Last revision was in 2015. Without that, that's a living document that needs to be considered on a regular basis with local stakeholder input. And we need that funding to continue that planning process so that these local groups and scientists can get together and decide where to go with this program.
Great. And of all the things that funding goes to fund, what would you say is the most important program? I know there's many, and I know they have wide reach, but of all the different programs that the program funds, what would you say is the most important?
I would say programs that affect the input of nitrogen into the Sound. So that's myriad ways it gets in there, but it's stormwater, point, non-point source pollution, overland flow. Those things affect everything from oxygen concentrations, ocean acidification, die-offs. That's the most important thing, is control that nitrogen getting into the watershed. Yeah.
And we have just about a minute left, and I have 2 more questions. Yeah. Focusing on the recreational, can you describe some of the recreational activities that folks enjoy, both from Connecticut and Long Island and from the region in and around the Long Island Sound?
Recreational activities, I'm kind of close to shellfishing and fin fishing, so there are many boats throughout the harbors on both coasts that go out to recreation fish. So whether it's weak fish, stripers are big in the Sound. People fish from the beach. Other recreational activities are swimming, boat, all those good things.
And one last question with about the 20 seconds I have remaining. How about the economic impact? What is the economic impact of the Sound, and what's important to the region there?
So based on funding from the program, so since its inception, I believe the economic impact of this program we're looking at today is about $96 million as of a couple years ago. So there's been about $54 million of investment, and then about 40 and change has been brought to the table through matching funds. The value of the estuary itself, the whole watershed, is $1 trillion.
Yeah. Thanks for your work. Appreciate your testimony. Appreciate the work of the folks who were with you. And I hope that it's obvious to my colleagues here in Washington that the reauthorization of the Long Island Sound Program is vital to not only Long Islanders in Connecticut, but to the entire region. Thanks, Chairman. I yield back.